Hello, everyone. My name is Csaki. I'm the Director of Youth and Education here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we'd like to thank each and every one of you as part of the Stark County Educational Service Center, all the educators across the area for tuning in here today for this video. It's going to be about 30 minutes long, somewhere in that ballpark, about our youth and educational programs. Many of you know my teammates as well, Jake Ray, who is the manager of youth and education, and Nathan Martin, who is the coordinator of our youth and educational programs. And we just want to share with you guys a little bit of today about what it is we do as a youth education department. Many of you are probably very familiar with it. Probably many of the people that are probably going to be watching this. I've been here for 22 years now, so many of you we've probably worked together in the past, whether it's through our educational field trips or whether it's through our Get Fit camp or Heart of a Hall of Fame or video conferencing or all the different programs we do here at the Hall of Fame and throughout the community. So I'm going to give you some nice details about those individual initiatives as we go throughout here today. But to start off, what we always want to convey, because any of our programs, whether it's a program directly related to it, or whether it's just an intro piece into it, pretty much all of our programs, we work with almost 50,000 students a year. And every one of our programs in some way, shape, or form typically touches on the values of the game. So we believe here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame that there's no sport that's quite like football. Our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. Now, it's those third and fourth elements to our mission that we get really excited as a department, because we believe that there's no sport that's quite like football. Now, all sports teach amazing things. And all sports teach things like unity and love and determination and dedication and diligence and all those things. But we also believe that there's no sport that's quite like football. And it's because of how the game is played. If we think about football just for a second compared to other sports, you think about the different shapes and sizes of players. You think about the different colors of players. Now, those things can be, aren't just unique to football, but certainly are there for football. But here's where football really separates itself from any other sport, is when you watch a football game, you see 22 players on the football field. That's whether that's little league, whether it's high school, whether it's college, or whether that's the NFL. 22 players on the football field. And the beauty of that is you have unique gifts and abilities out there. And that's what's different between football and other sports. Other sports has some varying skills, but you just have completely different skill sets and body types out there where you could have a 6'6", 360-pound offensive lineman where their job is just to push, and 5 or 10 feet away from that individual lined up in the slot could be a 5'8", 175-pound wide receiver where their job is to catch a football. Completely different skill sets, completely different, body types and shapes and all those things, but they all have to work together. And if we really think about that for a second, isn't that teammates in life? Aren't those teams that we see throughout life, whether it's in your classrooms, in your schools, whether it's in our community, whether you're part of a church or a scout group or any of these groups that our young people are part of. Those are the things we want to teach. This is what we're very passionate about that. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you guys right now a video called More Than a Game. And it's going to talk about exactly those things, about what football teaches about life. So we'll go ahead into that video.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? That sentiment has been echoed in stadiums, on sidelines, in huddles, throughout the history of this great game. Why? Because it's true. The game of football is a special one. It is a game that for over 100 years has been played by individuals from different backgrounds, with different beliefs, with one goal in mind: to win. It is a game where 11 different people with 11 different unique jobs need to perform at their highest level in order to succeed. And if that is done, something very special happens. Individuals become brothers, rivals become teammates. A special bond is created that will last for the rest of your life. And while wins and losses usually speak to the success of a team, there is so much more that illustrates success in this game. You learn how to work together, that it's important to do the right thing even when no one is watching. to respect yourself, to respect others. It teaches grit, determination, perseverance, and yes, even how to love. Football is an example that no matter your size, your ability, or your skill set, everyone is unique and is a vital member of their team. It could be sports, music, your family, and even in your classroom. So when someone says football is just a game, to them, maybe it is. But it's so much more. Football has always been and will continue to be a way to learn important lessons and values that challenge you to live a Hall of Fame life.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that video. And what I'd like to do now is start talking a little bit more about our youth and educational programs. And as I said at the intro, is we've probably worked with many of you. And you can see there our impact from the time that I started back in 2000. We worked with about 7,000 or 8,000 kids a year to now we're impacting almost 50,000 students a year through our youth and educational programs. And you can see those numbers with 2021, and we expect 2022 to be even higher than this, but almost 43,000 students that we work with. And a big chunk of those are from our Stark County and area schools. So you can see those. But what does that mean? What does that mean, our programming? Well, that's what we're going to share with you guys here today, is a little bit more about our programming. And a way to introduce that is just to show you guys a video. And this video is going to highlight all of our youth and educational programs and give you a nice visual for what we have to offer. And then once we do that, we'll nail down and give you some more particulars about each of one of these initiatives.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame's award-winning youth and educational program inspires students to succeed not only in the classroom, but in their everyday lives as well. These programs teach the important values of the game of football: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence. The Hall of Fame offers field trips for students to come to Canton, Ohio and see in person the history of this great game. Also offered are award-winning video conferences and distance learning programs. These programs allow students from all over the world to experience the Hall of Fame without leaving their classroom. Each and every program is supplemented with classroom activities that are aligned with Common Core and national standards. Not only can students learn about the history of the game through these experiences, every student has the chance to hear from a living Hall of Famer as part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer program, powered by Extreme Networks. This program allows students to interact with the game's greatest players, coaches, or contributors. Students not only learn how the values of the game of football made each of them a Hall of Famer, but also a better son, father, brother, and person off the field. The Youth and Education Department also offers opportunities for students to learn on the field too. Each spring, the Hall of Fame hosts its Get Fit training camp. This camp focuses on basic football skills using drills similar to those in NFL training camps, but also teaching important values of the game. Contact the Hall of Fame's Youth and Education Department today at education@profootballhof.com to get involved.
All right, so let's start off with, in that video, you saw some videos of us in our video conferencing studio, which is really what we're recording in today. This is the background that we have for students that are tuning in from really not only Stark County schools, but all over the country and sometimes all over the world. And you can see 2021, and a lot of this impact was because of COVID, because, not only do schools have tech coordinators that help coordinate their video conferencing, but now you teachers, you got used to using Google Meet and Zoom and things like that to connect with your students when you're at home. So we have a lot more capabilities of reaching out to a lot more people, because a teacher now doesn't have to go through a tech coordinator. They can go and connect directly to us and reach out to us, say, hey, I want to do a program with our classroom. I'm familiar with Google Meets. I'm familiar with Zoom. Let's do that. So 2021, you can see we had over 20,000 participants. That was a new record by more than 5,000. You can also see we connected with 756 different groups, which was also new record. And then in 2021, we connected with 33 unique states, plus Canada and Hungary. So you see those there. And so what does that mean? That's typically a 50 to 60-minute interaction in our studio, where your students could be on Google Meet or Zoom in a classroom with 20, 30 students, or sometimes as big as auditoriums with 500 students. where we are connecting with your students to learn more about using football to teach things like science, math, social studies, and those things. And if you tune in a little bit longer, we'll get into those specific elements of what kind of programs we have to offer. So video conferencing is one of our cornerstone programs that we have to offer here. One of the other cornerstones programs that you'll see on the screen now is our in-house program, and probably what you guys are very familiar with, because we've had a lot of partnerships throughout the county. Canton City Schools for essentially 3 decades have come in for a careers program. We do programs with Plain Local with our Get Fit camp, and we think about Fairless Middle School and a teacher there by the name of Tim Vick, who's been doing programs for years. We do all kinds of programs, and you can see those in-house programs. There's really a few different components, not only just your traditional field trip, but you can also see on the screen the Heart of a Hall of Famer and Get Fit. And I want to touch on each one of those a little bit. You have an amazing opportunity, especially with high school students, is to come in and learn from one of the greatest ever in our Heart of the Hall of Famer series. Now, our Heart of the Hall of Famer series is more than just an in-house program. We do programs all across the country through that. But 5 times a year, we actually have a Hall of Famer here in Canton, Ohio, that your students, your high school teachers, it's free, first of all. You can book a trip here to the Hall of Fame at scheduled date and time and learn from greats. Whether it's over the years, I mean, we've had guys from Jerry Rice to Emmett Smith to Kevin Mawai to Rod Woodson to Jerome Bettis and all kinds of different guys that we connect students into. But here, 5 times, we have an audience of anywhere from 300 to 500 students for each session. And it's an awesome opportunity to be in person and learn about the values of the game. As we like to say, our guys didn't just fall out of bed great. They had to work. And so it's an opportunity for your students to actually sit in front of a Hall of Famer and learn what it took to get that bronze bust put on display here in Canton, Ohio. As part of that as well, after the 75-minute program or so, students are then invited to go tour the Pro Football Hall of Fame afterwards and enjoy our exhibits. Get Fit Camp that you see there on the right-hand side, this is one that has completely just exploded, if you will. It is a busy time for us, usually the 2nd and 3rd week in May. We have roughly close to 6,000 students that come here to participate in our Get Fit Camp. Now think about this. Not only do they get to tour the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but they get to go on to Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium and do NFL combine drills for about 60 minutes. They're basic mass movement. It's not high skill level, so you don't have to be a football player to do this. We have kindergarten students that have never played a down of football do this, to 7th or 8th graders that do this. Again, this is a free program. It's for kindergarten through 8th grade, where they can go out, and it's facilitated by nearby coaches and organizations that are committed to youth that facilitate the drills. You do about 60-minute drills outside, then come in to tour the Hall of Fame. So roughly about a 3.5 hour commitment from teachers. But the Get Fit Camp is just to teach them like how to get outside and be active. And again, the values of the game are tied into that. So they can see the values and what they teach about life, and then go outside and learn about some fun drills that you can do. That if you want to go outside and be active, as we encourage kids to do, put down the video game controllers and those things, and actually get outside and be active. And so give them some interesting drills and some unique things to do as they do that. So that is our Get Fit training camp. Lastly is programs we've been offering. When we started our Hall of Fame programs, our educational programs, they started back in the spring of 1984. Some of you might know our longtime, one of our executives, a guy by the name of Joe Horgan, actually started those programs. And every year they keep growing, where you pick the date, you pick the time, we see if it works on our calendar. Groups range from a group of 20 to, we've had groups as large as 200 and 300 do these, where you'll come in, one of our educational team members will give you an educational presentation. And again, as I said, we'll talk about those educational presentations here in just a moment. They'll sit down into a designated area, go through a 50, 60-minute program on whatever the subject matter is that you choose, and then be invited to tour the Pro Football Hall of Fame and go see not only our exhibits, but also our Game for Life theater, our Super Bowl theater, all those things that are tied into this. And again, for any group, kindergarten through 8th grade, Ohio school, it's free. So you have the Get Fit camp that's free for kindergarten through 8th grade. We have field trips that are free for kindergarten, 8th grade. And so Heart of a Hall of Famer, which is 9th through 12th grade, they're free opportunities. So majority of our programs here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame are free. So whether, and for all grade levels. So I just want to encourage you on that those are programs that are free. So come in, do a field trip. It's usually about a 3.5 hour commitment for your school to come in and do our educational field trips. And you can see again, just some of those numbers that we've had for over the last, from 2019. And so you can see 2,800 participants and Heart of a Hall of Famer had over 5,000 with field trips, and then Get Fit with over 5,000. So roughly about 15,000 students each year visit our museum as part of our youth educational programs. Now, I've touched on this with both video conferencing and field trips. If you were to come here just for our general video conferencing programs, like if you're not doing a Heart of a Hall of Famer or you're not doing our Get Fit camp, you say, hey, I want to connect with you guys over video conferencing, or I want to come in for an educational field trip. What kind of programs do you offer? Well, there you have them on screen. We offer a wide variety of programs. Obviously, first of all, we're a history museum. So history and language arts are our strong suits. So that's why many of the programs you'll see there are history and language arts focused. So programs like the Story of Pro Football, African American Trailblazers program. The Story of Pro Football, we look at how museums tell the history of something. You know, typically in museums' mission statements, you see 2 keywords typically, preserve and educate, and we're no different. We are a world-class museum. We're accredited through the American Museum Association. And so when you think about preservation, you might think of the Smithsonian or the Cleveland Museum of Art or the Philadelphia Museum of Art or something like that. Well, the Pro Football Hall of Fame has that same standard when it comes to preservation and education. So we walk through the story of pro football. We walk through how museums illustrate their history through their 3- and 2-dimensional collection. So that's one program we offer. Our African American Trailblazers program, whether it's for Black History Month or whether it is just year round, it's a program we offer year round. You want to look at the integration of our country through the lens of pro football, this is a program for you. Kansas Commons Roommate, many of you probably know the name of, watch the movie. Some of you depend on the age that you are, whether it's the 2001 version or as we would recommend the 1971 version. We believe that that's probably the best one. You know, it's got James Caan, Billy D. Williams and those. So, but we talk about the relationship of Brian Piccolo, not historically in 1967 becoming the first Black-white roommate in the NFL, but also just a story of friendship and loyalty and commitment and picking each other back up when you go through tough times in life. What's with NFL team nicknames? Definitely a local history and statewide history, or even a national history program. We look at team nicknames and how they got their nicknames. Not every single team is nicknamed simply because of a fan poll. A lot of them have a deep historical significance to that city, that state, or that geographical region. Art in the Hall of Fame experience, how art is expressed through our museum, you know, and a whole bunch of other programs. Careers in the NFL, we can go back to that. We look at that one. We talk about jobs in the NFL. We know many of your kids, especially the teachers that have younger students, they have a dream of being a professional athlete. We don't dash their dreams, but in some ways we do a little bit, because we do illustrate with them the you know, the statistics that it takes to get in, you know, of high school players that go on to the NFL. It's less than 1%. And so we talk about, if you have a dream, if you're like me, someone that grew up playing sports, I love sports. Sports are a big part of my life. When I knew I wasn't going to be able to play professionally in a sport, I knew I wanted to do something. And so I went to college for that and got a degree from university that many, probably all of you know, University of Mount Union, in sport business, and got a job in sports. And so we look at the wide variety of jobs that are available in and around the National Football League. So whether it's the athletic trainer, whether it's team doctors, you know, who helps do the travel arrangement for the players and the teams, you know, a job that you never think of, or who does the food for the players. Most of these players, almost year round, they get fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the team facilities. Who coordinates all that? Who books the hotels? Who fixes the equipment when it's broken? Who inspects it each week? Who stocks the locker rooms? Who coordinates the halftime shows? Who sells the tickets? Who sells the sponsorships? You know, all those jobs, we go through as many careers as we can to give students a nice wide range of probably any interest that's out there. There's probably a career in the NFL. I mean, social media, for example. I mean, what kid doesn't, I mean, think about that. What kid doesn't love social media? And what most kids that love sports? Why not do both? Why not work in sports and do social media for a living and get paid to do that? Maybe possibly even for your favorite NFL franchise. Maybe you're a big Browns fan. Maybe because the Bengals won the Super Bowl. Maybe you're a big Bengals fan. What if you got to travel? What if you would have got to go to the Super Bowl this year and you're a Bengals fan and you were there the whole week leading up to it, interviewing Joe Burrow, or any of these great players. I mean, or maybe you were Tom Brady for a few years, when he's been in the Super Bowl. So just so many jobs that are behind the scenes, and we like to illustrate those. We talked about media in the NFL, but we look at media and the influence, especially with the Super Bowl. Especially when we talk about media in the NFL, we really look at the influence and the impact of television, ranging from the very first TV broadcast to the 100 million today that watch. The first broadcast went out to 500 homes in the New York area. To today, you have 100+ million that watch the Super Bowl. So how did we get there? What were some of the monumental moments that got us there, like the Super Bowl, like the invention of Monday Night Football, the merging of the AFL and the NFL, those kind of things? We look at those moments. Why not use football to teach science? We have a movement and motion program where we look at movement, motion, and force. And what better way, if we talk about movement, for example, what better way to talk about movement like a zigzag than watch a Barry Sanders highlight? It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? So even the student that might not be so engaged in science, all of a sudden they love football and they've heard of Barry Sanders, or even if they haven't heard of Barry Sanders, once they watch a highlight film of the zigzags, they're like, wow. And then you can say, that's science right there. Newton's first law of motion, when you talk about an object in motion that wants to stay in motion. What if we looked at Lamar Jackson when he's running with the football, when he's scrambling, and say that's an example of Newton's first law of motion. An object in motion wants to stay in motion unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. We can look at those things and talk about those things using NFL athletes. Who's the unbalanced force, on the field that wants to stop the offensive player? The defense. So every second, when the offensive player is resistant to wanting to stop and they want to continue going, that's inertia. And so we have sports science videos that are done by the National Science Foundation that use football, and we look at the science of like the spin move or the 40-yard dash, or when Jerome Simpson did a flip over a player and stuck the landing for a touchdown. We look at linear velocity and angular velocity and the amount of 650 pounds of force he pushed off the ground so he could jump over a defender that was 6'2". So we look at science in football. What about rule changes in the NFL? We look at the rule changes and how they've impacted the National Football League. Women's History Month, March, or year round, again, we do a Women in the NFL program. We look at the women that have had a huge impact in and around the National Football League, whether that's coaches, whether that's Sarah Thomas, who if you look throughout her life, she has been first, all the way down to becoming the first woman to officiate in a Super Bowl. So we look at the women that have overcome obstacles to break down barriers that were placed upon women, and see, more and more women are working in front office positions, more and more women are owners, and more women are scouts, as well as obviously officials. So we see those. What about dual sports stars? In today's day and age, where specialization is such a big push, bottom line is statistics show, it varies from year to year, but almost every player that's on like the Super Bowl roster played more than one sport in high school. You hear our Hall of Famers talk about, we just talked to Rod Woods. We did a program not too long ago with Rod Woodson. Rod Woodson said it was track that helped make him a better football player because he was being taught speed and running fast. And obviously those are things that can help. So we look at these dual sports stars, obviously guys like Deion Sanders, or one of my childhood heroes, Bo Jackson, and how good he was, or going back to Jim Thorpe. And so we look at those. What about the Walter Payton Man of the Year award? You want to talk about a person that exemplified being the type of person you want to be off the field. Walter Payton is our man. And so much so that when Walter Payton passed away in 1999, the NFL actually renamed the award, the character award, after him and called it the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. So we look at guys like J.J. Watt, past winners, and what they've done in the community and why it's important for us to give back and care about each other and help each other. And what are things that our young people can be doing to help out in the community. The Black College Football Hall of Fame, a program that we look at, the impact that not only that the HBCUs have had, it's almost 10% of our Hall of Famers have come from HBCUs. And then also that we are the facility that houses the Black College Football Hall of Fame and its impact on the game. History of your favorite NFL team. We look at more in depth, highlighting if your students want to come in and learn about Ohio teams and in depth about maybe the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals, we can go through those things. Hall of Fame history and selection process. That's a program that we go through. A lot of people are interested on the history of the Hall of Fame. Obviously, the first thing we address when you come into our museum, why Canton? Many of you are from the area, probably know that. Some of you are probably tuning in, maybe never heard of the 3 reasons why. That number one, the NFL was founded here September 17th, 1920, just a few miles from down the road from here. Number two, that the one of the early powerhouses that was part of the league when it started in 1920, there were 14 teams that joined the league. One of those teams was a team right here in Canton, Ohio, called the Canton Bulldogs. One of the first dominant teams, as we tell students, one of the first dynasties, if you will. They're the first back-to-back NFL champions back in 1922 and 1923. And then reason number 3, a name that probably most young people haven't heard of, but a name that you can go into is the name by the name of Jim Thorpe, who not only played pro football, played pro baseball, but then on top of that, won 2 Olympic gold medals in 1912 in Stockholm, Sweden, and arguably 2 of the toughest events you can compete in, the decathlon and pentathlon. And so, as we tell young people, it's impossible to compare LeBron James with Jim Thorpe, but in any era to play 2 professional sports and win 2 Olympic gold medals, it's unheard of. So Jim Thorpe today is still regarded as one of the greatest athletes of all time. And then if you can't come on a trip here to Canton, Ohio, or you can't connect over Zoom for whatever reason, or Google Meets through one of our video conferencing programs, we also have a virtual scavenger hunt that your students can engage with. So that's a little bit more about the programs that we offer here for your students, whether it's through video conferencing or whether it's through a field trip here to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As far as our national programming, as you see on the screen, our Heart of a Hall of Famer, again, not only do we have that here, but your students have another 12 opportunities that they could just connect in over Zoom to connect in with our Hall of Famers to ask them questions. You see the picture there, and not too long ago, that's my teammate, Jake Ray, who was there with Marshall Falk. He just got back not too long ago from Las Vegas. I know it's a tough job. You got to travel to Las Vegas, but with Rod Woodson for the NFL draft. So 12 times a year, we have other opportunities where your students can connect in. Again, they can see and hear you. You can unmute, your students can unmute the microphone and ask a question of our Hall of Famer. And again, asking those questions on what did it take to be great? What adversity did you face in life? What obstacles, what recommendations do you have to young people about building character? Asking those who have achieved excellence, the very highest, the very pinnacle of success that you can achieve in the sport of football is to be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So why not learn from that? So we can be the very best in anything we choose to do, whether it's as an employee of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, or whether that's as someone who's in band or orchestra, or someone that chooses to be a veterinarian or stay-at-home mom or whatever. Is it being the very best you can be? And so there are core values that it takes to be the best that you possibly can be, and those are transferable to any area. So why not learn from the best and do that? And you can see 2021, we exploded with attendance there, 350 groups, over 15,000 participants. You see there. Another program that we offer. Now, it's more for college students, but we do have high school students, and sometimes we even have elementary and middle school students tuning in for this. Last 2 years, we have offered an initiative called Before the Snap. Pretty much 20 plus times a year, typically at almost every Friday throughout the school year, we have an industry expert. Now, I talked about our Careers in the NFL program for field trips and for video conferencing programs, where we go through a wide variety of jobs in the NFL. Well, this program is pretty cool because we don't go wide, but we go deep with one particular job. So we have industry professionals that come on for an hour that we interview on YouTube Live, and your students can tune in and actually submit questions to ask them. So whether it's the athletic trainer for the Dallas Cowboys, or whether it's the Patriots player development person, or I mean, we've had the person that does the ratings adjusting for Madden. I mean, think about that. That's part of his job. It's a small part of his job, but when someone has a 96 and they're not happy with that, they feel they should be 99 in hands. This is the person that actually the players have confronted him a little bit, probably playfully most of the time, but he's been confronted on it. His job is to do that. That's part of his job. So we look at all those interesting jobs behind the scenes, but just one where you can actually go really in depth with that particular job and learn the ins and outs. And so students can tune in for that pretty much every Friday, 12 noon throughout the school year. And again, we've reached 169 unique colleges in 41 states through that initiative. And then other programs, some that you guys are probably familiar with, others that you're not, throughout the year. Playmakers Camp, which is a special needs camp that we have. We work through the Stark County. Susie McKelvey, probably many of you probably know Susie. She's a good friend of ours here at the Hall of Fame. We work every year a Playmakers Camp, and we bring in a few hundred special needs students. We work with local high school football programs that facilitate the drills, and we do programs here where we set up, again, just like the Get Fit Camp. We have various stations where they're doing agility or maybe throwing or stuff like that. So our Playmakers Camp. Education Appreciation Night. We plan on doing this in the fall again. It's a night to just say thank you to each one of you for doing that. You'll be getting info probably here, in this fall in September about that. But it's a free event, with some light snacks and beverages and things like that. Come tour the Hall of Fame. Come listen to me for about a half hour, because if we're gonna have you come in, I got to indoctrinate you a little bit on our programs, just like we're doing here today. But it's an opportunity just for us to say thank you, because we know the grind that it is, especially this time of the year. We know it's winding down. You're like, I can't wait till summer. And so it's a pick me up in the fall, and we're looking at even possibly doing it in the spring as well. So Education Appreciation Night, Summer Huddle Program. Many of you might work with summer groups, summer camps. Many teachers obviously volunteer for, or not volunteer, but work for youth organizations during the summer. We have summer programs that we offer. And then some of the other ones you guys are familiar with is our activation and programming that we do during Enshrinement Week, powered by Johnson Controls. First one is our Play Football First Play, presented by Panini. Probably many of you have done this before. That's the event where we line up people, young people from downtown Canton at the corner of Cleveland 2nd and Southwest to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's nearly a 3-mile long chain, roughly 3,000 or plus youth that participate in that, where they pass a football up to the Hall of Fame to kick off Enshrinement Week, powered by Johnson Controls. Each year we have free lunch. This year we have a new change. This year we're going to have a youth festival, if you will, on our grounds for those participants. So, and it's all free. Kids get a free lunch. They'll get a free voucher to be used this year on a later date. They'll get to participate in our Fun Fest. They'll get a free T-shirt, all free. Awesome event for you guys to be able to do that. This year on Tuesday, August 2nd, we're going to be doing our Play Football Skills Camp, where we have, again, roughly 300 plus 5th through essentially 11 through 14-year-olds that are doing our skills camp. What's really cool about this, it's not only just hosted by us and us doing the camps and the drills and things like that. We actually have Hall of Famers. And you can see, that's a picture from previous years, where you see Will Shields, Andre Reed, John Randall, Mel Blunt, and Andre Tippett there that helped do that. And so it's actually stations facilitated by Hall of Famers from 6 to 8 p.m. Again, it's free. It's for anyone. And then our ambassador program. You might work for an organization during the summer that we could send a player out to. It's usually Friday of Enshrinement Week, where we actually send a Hall of Famer out to, whether it's a VA clinic, whether it's Altman, whether it's a Myers Lake Y or Eric Snow Y, or any age group organization. We send players out to say thank you for everything that the community does to roll out the red carpet, so to speak, during Enshrinement Week. And so I know I've thrown a lot at you in a little bit of time. hopefully if you made it this far, I'm proud of you guys for enduring me for the last 30 minutes talking about our youth and educational programs. But again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, my team here, my teammates here, with Nathan Martin and Jake Ray, we're here to help you out in any way, even if it's not a program that we have there. Even you're like, hey, I got some crazy idea. We've had Starkey SC approach us on things like, hey, can we do this? And we've been able to do some unique partnerships with Starkey SC. So even if you have a crazy idea, please let us know. And you can reach out to us at education@profootballhof.com. Again, that's education@profootballhof.com. So we appreciate your time here today, connecting in for this video or watching this video. And we appreciate everything you guys do for our youth here in Stark County. Take care. God bless.